What's up, everybody? Mike here, and we got some interesting changes and improvements coming to Path of Exile 2 because the devs have responded to people's feedback, criticism, things like that, and a lot of this is positive, actually. There's only going to be a little bit of nerfs here from what I was kind of glancing over, but most of this is really freaking good and much needed. So let's dig into it. Path of Exile 2 has been live for just over a week. We've addressed some feedback already and are working on more fixes for key pain points in the upcoming patch. The full patch notes are coming soon, but check out some of the more significant changes below. Gameplay features, I'm definitely interested in. The trial stuff here definitely needs to be adjusted. In-game stuff I haven't touched yet. I've only seen and heard about as far as issues with that. Not actually experienced myself, but yeah, these two I would say is probably going to be more what I'm knowledgeable about so far. All right, like we mentioned last week, we'll be adding the capacity to fast travel between checkpoints within an area, as well as adding many more checkpoints to areas. Okay, good. That's a thing that's been bugging me because I knew they were going to add fast travel between checkpoints, but there's just not enough checkpoints in these large ass maps, dude. Like, there's maybe 2, maybe 3 sometimes. I don't know. I think it's usually 3 tops, maybe 4, but they're so spread out, man. So yeah, fast travel between checkpoints would help a lot. Generally at all entrances and exits to areas. So they're adding to exits and areas, basically. I mean, if you find these first, you'll be able to instantly travel to them to continue exploring. Good. We'll also be making passive point respecting cheaper, especially at higher levels. Yes. This has been an issue. Not necessarily for me, because I've been like, as I've been playing my main monk character, I just been making sure I sell a lot of stuff in general. I have like maybe like 80,000 gold or whatever. So like, and I haven't really needed to respec all that much overall for my monk character. So it hasn't really impacted me that heavily. I think the most I've paid is maybe 1,500 gold to respec. And that's maybe like for, I don't know, anywhere between like 1 to 5 points. And that's been barely ever. But I definitely have seen how it can go into like 4,000 gold per respec point or whatever the heck for some people. And yeah, they need to definitely adjust this. It had a relatively aggressive curve, getting more expensive at character level. Yes, we have flattened that curve so it doesn't exponentially grow as much. This should generally result in approximately 40 to 50% less gold cost for respecting between the start and middle of in-game progression. That is very good. So they're essentially cutting it down by half. All right, awesome. Thank you. Now, with the trial stuff, the trials, before I go into this, felt very weird in terms of like unbalanced in a sense. You know, you got enemies are falling you into essentially the safe area of when you like either pick a key up or, you know, restore your honor, things like that. I don't know if they're addressing that here. Also, the certain enemies just being really aggressive or unbalanced or just like not, I don't know, or just the amount of damage you take on honor just seem weird, like you took too much sometimes. So I'm hoping they're addressing that here. Let's get into it. Players are finding trial of second miss particularly frustrating close range. Yes, I was. It took me like, I was level 22. I started level 22 and then beat to level 25. And when I finally beat it, I got super freaking lucky by getting a particular boon right before the boss fight. I'm not going to say what boon because I want you guys to go watch that video on my YouTube. Check it out right now of my luckiest run, successful run in this trial by getting that particular boon. If you want to watch the whole video, watch it. If you want to skip towards the end where I get the boon to see what it is, that's fine too. But yeah, check that out. Anyway, so we've reworked how honor damage scales when in close range, as well as fixing an important bug that was causing players to take far too much honor damage from damage over time. Yes, that was an issue for sure. I definitely experienced that. Honor damage now scales down based on distance to enemies. When in close range, you'll take 35% less honor damage, tapering off as you are further away from monsters. So that definitely is tailored to the melee classes with monk and warrior. Very good. Fixed bug where damage over time dealing thrice as much damage to honor as intended, and fixed a bug where honor resistance was only applying to 2/3 of that damage. This was confusing us too. Wow. So yeah, unintentional bug or issues are happening in this game. They're still finding them. They're still figuring them out. So it's up to us as players to try and bring this to their attention and in an appropriate way. Don't try to be all rude or mean about it, guys. Let's just keep bringing these issues to their attention in a proper way, a mature way, things like that, professional way if possible. Let's see. Skitter golems no longer use basic attacks and instead now just explode. Nice. Serpent claws, burrow and ambush attack now has been improved. Visual telegraphing and cannot be used from as far away. Good. That was annoying. Volcanoes created by Red Cage's Fissure Slam now last half duration. Thank you. Jeez, man, that's so freaking annoying. They're not addressing enemies going to like that safe area though, unfortunately, but because that's really annoying to me. It's like, why are they going into like that safe area that you go into to essentially decide which next room is going to be, and you pick up your reward from completing the last room? Like, that should not be a thing. They need to fix that, in my opinion. All right, end game and monster balance. So let's dive into this. Generally, the balance in in-game maps was more punishing than intended, so we've toned down the damage in a number of ways and disabled a certain on-death effect, where telegraphing was not as clear as it should have been. Yeah, I've been hearing from quite a bit of people in the community, where it's like Reddit or just streams, that essentially those that are in in-game, a big irritating factor is chaos damage. Like, you need to have your chaos resistance up, because there's apparently certain mobs or enemies that do a shit ton of chaos damage to you, and it can one-shot you or take 2/3 of your health out. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? It's definitely something like they were over-tuned or whatever. Now they're like essentially tuning them down. Good. Maps no longer have additional elemental resistance penalties inherently applied at tier 6 and tier 11 or higher maps. It is now consistent across all the in-game. So this is something else that I was hearing about too, where essentially every, I guess, tier you go up, you essentially get more and more penalties to resistances. So it's like you're just being punished as you keep going up. So say you start at 10%, it goes up to 20, then 30, then 50, I guess. So that's what I was hearing from some other streamers and people in the community. Chaos damage now also scales less aggressively over the end game. Good. Yeah, that was a big issue. Like I said, chaos damage was doing too much from enemies in the end game. Critical strikes from monsters now deal 40% less bonus damage. Good. Lower the baseline monster density of breach encounters, primarily by reducing the frequency of the elite monsters appearing. Disabled the volatile crystals modifier. We'll revisit this in the future, pending telegraphing improvements. Nice. And that's fair. That's fair. They gotta test this out. It's early access, guys. And even when it does, go full launch, there's still gonna be post updates, things like that. Things are gonna be testing out, experimenting with it, and getting feedback from us, the players. Purple explosives created by the volatile plants modifier on rare monsters now deals significantly less damage. Nice. The siphons flash charges modifier on monsters now drains 10 times less flash charges per second. It's unintentionally draining way too much main charge. Yeah, I felt this was very weird. Like, I was getting really annoyed when I would fight rare monsters that had this buff where they just drain either my mana or my health flask, and it just seemed like it was just a little too much. So I'm glad they addressed that. The changes should generally result in a game that is much more survivable than before, and we will continue to address problematic cases as they arise. All right. Character and item balancing here, guys. So we've made charm modifiers on belts subsequently more common and now appear at much lower levels. Yeah, this is another weird thing. So get go down here a bit. I am in like cruel difficulty, right? But I've also seen other content creators in game still only have one charm slot. Like, we're supposed to be able to equip up to 3, right? And for some reason, they have not found it. Not really. I have not found any beyond just one. So it looks like they're addressing this and fixing that. The of symbolism modifier now appears from level 23 onwards, and the of subscription modifier now appears from level 64 onwards. Okay, good. Electrocute is now 25% harder to build up, but the damage penalty has been removed from the support gem. Added a new lightning damage and electrocute cluster to the passive tree in between the ranger and monk sections. Nice. There's a buff there. It is now more difficult to chain freeze enemies by reducing the amount of freeze buildup applied after a freeze has been applied. So that's a nerf. The Hunter's Talisman notable now grants +1 charm slot. The small passive skills leading up to it now grant the stat it formerly gave. The charm helper text has been updated to indicate that you cannot have more than 3 charm slots unlocked so that we can add more sources of it in the future. Wait, so can we get more charm slots or just more sources related to that? Really? All right. Skill to support gem balance. So this launch, we've unfortunately had to nerf a few skills that were far too overpowered. How do we define overpowered? Basically, it's a situation in which a certain skill is so powerful that players feel no other method of playing the game is viable. Yeah, and that's a fair assessment. That is sincerely a fair assessment. So, generally speaking, we are trying to do this in a way that doesn't make a build bad, but we can't. But we can make mistakes. Ideally, any truly meta shifting changes will only happen at the same time as a content patch with a new league to play in. So basically what they're going to do going forward is like when leagues start being a thing, they'll essentially do the content patch update either as or right before that league starts, so they don't do it mid-league, which makes sense. All right, but that doesn't mean we haven't been looking at underpowered skill support gems. We've got a number of changes planned, which should improve some of these skills. Full list changes will be in the patch notes, but here is a sample of what you can expect. So we got a lot of improvements here, right? Improvements to rolling slam and all shield skills in the mace selection. I've not experienced it myself, but other players I've seen playing this in the community, yeah, that's gonna be a huge that gets a buff. Improves the various bow skills, especially the skills used to generate frenzy charges. Nice for rangers. Improves the bone spells, the chaos damage over time spells, and the occult section. Yeah, I've been personally trying to do a chaos damage monk, and don't get me wrong, I'm still like doing decent damage or whatever against enemies, but it just definitely feels like chaos damage in general does not feel as strong as it should be, or the skills I'm using. So this is gonna be nice to get a buff for chaos damage over time spells, because I'm using like dark effigy mixed with, I got now hex blast and despair, and it's like those combinations should work very well and do more damage than what they do. Anyway, improvements to various crossbow skills, especially those at higher tiers. Nice for mercenary. Improvements to some of the underachieving quarterstaff abilities. Oh hell yes, monk is getting more buffs in a sense. Let's go. All right, alongside all these skill gem improvements, we've also done a pass over the support gems. We've added 2 new supports and removed or lessened the penalties on many others, notably the fire, lightning, and cold exposure supports. Nice. All right, added the tremors support gem, which can be used to give up to multiple more aftershocks skills with a damage penalty. Good. Adding the biting support gem, which can be used to give more damage to the command skills of support minions. Okay, very, very nice for the witch class. The fire exposure, lightning exposure, cold exposure support gem no longer penalize damage of support skills. They now have a mana cost multiplier of 120%. Nice. I think that's a nice rework or balance of that. There's also some notable nerfs here for a few other remaining overachieving skills. So skeletal arson spirit costs now match the other 2 skeleton mages. This should result in a slight decrease in the number of arsonists at higher level. A nerf to damage over time component on very high levels of tornado and vine arrow. These were never intended to be dealing damage themselves, but more so act as a way to other skills to propagate damage. I didn't even know about that. Magnet salvo can now only use your stuck lightning arrows as opposed to those created by your party members. Nice. Okay. So some nerfs here, hopefully not too bad, guys. I'm hoping this isn't too much of a negative thing for a lot of players. I know I'm also be running Witch here. I'm kind of working on her as my second main class. So this, as far as skeletal arsonist being a thing, is probably not going to bother me too much. Honestly, I haven't really tested it out yet. Then they talk about as we wind down for the holiday season, we wanted to thank you all for the most successful launch so far. We could not have done it without all of your support. A lot of our team will begin to take some much needed rest over the next few weeks, but we look forward to getting back into New Year refreshed and ready for an exciting New Year development in 2025. Happy holidays. So in my opinion, it sounds like they're probably going to try and get this patch out either later this week, because right now it's Tuesday. So they'll probably try to get out this week or by next week, right before maybe Christmas, maybe. But I would say hopefully this week, hopefully like either tomorrow, Wednesday, or like Thursday or Friday, get it out, knocked out, and then they just take a couple weeks off for the holiday and get back to work on a new year, and just hopefully no major issues. They'll probably maybe have like a skeleton crew or something like that. But yeah, good stuff overall, guys. Loving it. Appreciate the feedback that they're listening to from the fans. Like that, there still needs to be some more polish, some things adjusted and balanced out, I feel like, though. But this is definitely becoming a better game all the freaking time, guys. It is worth it, in my opinion, to get an early access, because not only can you test it out early before it fully launches, you can help give feedback, and you can maybe find some new issues that no one else has found yet. I've definitely been trying to give my feedback to them as much as possible. So definitely want to help this game be better, guys. All right, what do you think about this, guys? Are you excited? Does it make you happy as you're playing it? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this helpful and informative, please hit that like, subscribe if you're new. My name is Mike. Thanks for watching.